Hey, I'm Grant with Grant's Game Rex. GenCon approaches. We are about a week away from GenCon, the biggest board game convention in the country. There's going to be like 80,000 people there and probably like 80,000 games. There's a lot of games at GenCon. There's a lot of games that debut at GenCon. So I want to do a video of the games that I'm most excited about debuting at GenCon. This video is not for things you can demo at GenCon. There are going to be a lot of great games like that too that you can go demo and try out that won't be available for sale. This is a video about things that will be for sale at GenCon because, there's a lot of things that you could spend your money on. So this is the things that I would be excited to spend my money on. So hope you find some games here. I hope we get to see each other at GenCon. I'll be there. If you see me, say hello. High five. Love high fives. Big fan of high fives. Might even finger gun you. It's not as cool as a high five, but I might do it. Before I talk about the 10 games that are on the list, I'm actually going to talk about a couple of other ones because the 10 games in the list are like new games that I haven't really talked about before on my channels, but there are some games debuting at GenCon that were in my most anticipated games of 2024. So I'm going to give them honorable mentions here. I've already talked about them a bunch. If you want to check out my top 15 most anticipated games of the year, I'll put a link to that video here, in the description, and you can go check out that one. But there are 3 games debuting at GenCon that were from that most anticipated list. So, it goes without saying that I am still excited about these games. I'm still happy that they are there, but they're not the 10 games that I'm putting in because I've already talked about them a bunch. Those 3 games are River Valley Glassworks from Allplay. This is a really fun sort of family weight puzzle pretty game, sort of in the same world as Azul or Sagrada or things like that, where it looks very pretty and abstract on the table, but it's a fun little puzzle that's easy enough to teach and play. One of the standout things of River Valley Glassworks is when you draft these glass pieces from the river, you pick up the river piece and put it to the back of the river, and so the tiles keep cycling through and it feels like a river that is flowing, and that's really cool. And it plays in like 20 minutes and it's a great little game. Another one that was on my most anticipated games of the year, Gnome Hollow will be at GenCon. Gnome Hollow is a great, welcoming plus type of game. You are putting tiles down, building rings, these little sort of stone rings, and when you can close a ring, you are going to get mushrooms along that ring. The other fun thing about it is when you close a ring, based on how many tiles it took to finish that ring, you're going to gain bonuses on your board. You're going to move these little magnetic things down and gain bonuses. One of the interesting things about the game also is those mushrooms that you earn from closing rings, you can then go sell at the market, and it's a race at the market. Once somebody sells a certain amount of mushrooms for a certain price, then that's done for the rest of the game, and you need to go try to sell something else or sell less or sell more. And so there's a interesting fluctuation in the market in Gnome Hollow. So definitely worth checking out. It's another one of those games that's like got fun strategy, but plays in under an hour. That's the type of game I really like a lot, that still has interesting choices, but doesn't take 4 hours to play. And then the last one I'll talk about that was on my most anticipated games of the year for 2024 is Forges of Ravenshire from BA Games. I love dice placement games and I love engine building games, and Forges of Ravenshire is both of those things. You are doing some worker placement type of stuff, dice placement, where you are taking a dice off of the board, adding a dice to the board, getting the benefits of where you go with the dice. But then your dice comes to your own personal player board, and you have an engine on your own personal player board. And both the color of the dice and the value of the dice are going to fire off your engine and get you special benefits in different ways. So it's just, it's that brain-burning puzzle of like, okay, I really need this column, this green column to go, so I need to take a green dice, but that only has a 2, and I wish it had a 4 on it, and stuff like that. So it's, just an interesting puzzle of trying to figure out what's the best way to build your efficient engine and to fire it off. So Forges of Ravenshire will be there at GenCon as well. And then the last game I'll sort of honorable mention here before I get into the 10 is Fruto Play from Barrel Age Games. And the reason why this was, not in the 10 is because I actually covered this last year. I put it in my top card games of the year, but it wasn't that available here in America. It was from a French publisher, and now Barrel Age Games is bringing it to the North American market. So if you heard me talk about it, or if you think it sounds interesting, it's a fun small box card game. It's kind of a trick-taking game, but it does it in a unique way, where there is a sort of market of cards out in the center of the play area, and you need to play the closest card to the one for that round to gain that card. And so you're trying to think about what do other people have and how can you get it, and then you only score for your sets of cards at the end of it, and so you times your largest set by your smallest set, so you don't want to get one card in a certain suit type. You want to avoid that if you can, so you're trying to stick other people with one card, you're trying to avoid it yourself. It's just, it's a quick playing, fun, unique trick-taking style card game, and Barrel Age Games is bringing it here to America. So thanks. I appreciate it, Barrel Age Games. Those are 4 great games, but they're not the 10 games. You just got 4 bonus ones right here. You're welcome, crowd. That feels weird. I'm so used to performing live that I call you crowd, but really, you're viewers. Crowd doesn't make sense. Hello, crowd. I'm going to do crowd work here to my phone recording this. So come on, let's focus, Grant. Get into the 10 games you're going to talk about right now. In number 10 is the Cat Mitt Game from McMiller Games. Look, I wouldn't be who I am if I didn't put one dumb, silly game on this list. And the Cat Mitt Game is that dumb, silly game for all of you out there that want that sort of thing. You put on literal mittens, like oven mitts, and then you have to try to get a treat out of a cat toy. There is a ball, and it's got a hole, and you are trying to bat it around and get the treat out of it. Meanwhile, other people are rolling dice, and if they roll a meow meow, they get to steal the mitts and the cat toy from you, and they get to try to do it. So it's frantic. It's silly, it makes you laugh, and, you get to watch a bunch of adult human beings pretend to be a cat, just, so it's like, there's not a lot of strategy here, but I don't care. I want to watch people play this as much as I want to play it myself. So, if you want dumb and silly, I got you covered. Cat Mitt Game is for you. Number 9 is Gateway Island from Van Ryder Games. Gateway Island is actually a game with 21 mini games in it. And all of those mini games teach people about the major board game mechanisms, the different types of board games. There's a mini game for worker placement, for engine building, for area control, for drafting, for all of the things you can think of. When you go home and you're talking to your family on Thanksgiving and you're like, yeah, I've been playing this new worker placement game, and they all go, what? What is that? Well, now you can play Gateway Island with them, and, it's always better to show than to tell, right? So this is a way you can show. It's always better, show. Don't tell, show me, don't tell me. And so you could show them with this game. This is a game where I'm just happy this game exists, right? I'm constantly thinking, about how to make new gamers, about how to bring new people into this hobby. That's one of my favorite things to do, is to be a facilitator of new people joining board games. And I want them to feel welcome, and I want them to feel excited about this hobby just like I am. And so, I feel like Gateway Island is a great game for newer gamers where they can just learn about all of this stuff. And, there's so much jargon that we do in the hobby that we kind of take for granted, and a lot of people don't know what all that stuff means. And now they can play Gateway Island and have a fun time learning it. It's not homework to learn all these terms in board games. You can play a game to learn all these terms. So I'm happy this game exists. I hope it helps get even more people into the hobby for sure. Number 8 is Jewels for the Emperor Penguin from Prolific Games. I actually had a chance to play the prototype of this, maybe at like PAX Unplugged or something last year, and I really enjoyed it. It's one of the best like family weight games that I've played in a while. You are rolling dice, and those dice will be associated with different numbered penguins that you have. And so if you roll a 3, you're going to activate your 3 penguin, and you are moving them up the board from tile to tile, and then gaining the benefits that are listed on those tiles. But one of the most fun things about the game is you can bump your smaller penguins up, and you can create this bump chain to get higher on the board and get cool stuff. But you can only bump penguins that are smaller. So if I have my 1 here and my 2 here, I can use my 4. I'm going to bump my 2, which is going to bump my 1, which is going to come up here, and then I'm going to get extra cool stuff up at the top. And then, ultimately you're using the different jewels that you earned to buy cards, and those cards are going to be worth points. It's a game that plays in about 30 minutes, and that bumping mechanism's really fun. There's a lot of, the board is very modular, so there's a lot of replayability. You can add more advanced tiles into the game, so it also scales well in difficulty, and it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun bumping penguins, Who would have thought? Penguins are always cool. Jewels for the Emperor Penguin. Number 7 is Cafe Baras from Kids Table Board Games. I'm a big fan of Maple Valley and of Creature Comforts, both from Kids Table Board Gaming and also from the designer Roberta Taylor. And this is the new game from that team. And so, based on the first 2 games, I'm kind of excited for anything that they put out, because both Creature Comforts and Maple Valley were like really cute, really fun theme, but also, enough decent, meaty decisions in the game that it kept me interesting. There was some real good strategy in those games too, even amongst the just sort of cute artwork and, cozy theme to it. And so Cafe Baras is a much smaller box game. It comes, in a box that's this big instead of, sort of the standard big strategy board game. And in the game, you are playing as capybaras, the South American giant guinea pigs that are, and you are running a coffee shop. You are capybaras running a coffee shop. And so you are fulfilling orders. That's the main action of the game, is you are doing things to keep customers happy, to fulfill orders. And I don't even know that much about how the game plays, but I'm just interested in checking it out because of the team behind it and because of that pedigree that I already mentioned. And so, it's going to come with the same adorable artwork. Capybaras running a coffee shop. That's a theme I'm into already. That's a fun, silly theme, and I'm excited to check it out. Yeah. Number 6 is Nestlings from Tangerine Games and Lucky Duck Games. This is a game where you are doing some dice placement, but you are placing dice in different regions, and then you can draft the resources that are available from those regions. But you can also put more dice in a region, because whoever has more value in their dice in that region is going to draft first. So if you really want something from a particular region, then spend extra dice to go there into that region. It's got great artwork in it as well. I love the different artwork. It's one of those medium weight games that I love, where interesting strategy, interesting choices, but still plays fairly quickly. It doesn't take crazy long to play Nestlings. And I got a chance to check it out at a convention in Boise last year, and it's one of the first games from Tangerine Games, but I feel like they did a great job with it, and I'm excited to see more of what comes out from them in the future because of this Nestlings one. I think everybody is on board with bird themes at this point. They're chill. They're making nature. We all like nature in our games. There's so many nature games, but this is one I feel like I want to check out and I want to see more from. Nestlings. Number 5 is Reef Project from Board and Dice Games. I'm a medium weight gamer. That's, I've said that in this video multiple times. That's sort of where I live. And many of Board and Dice's games are too heavy for me. I respect them as good games. They're just not ones that I want to play all the time. Reef Project is a solidly medium weight game, and I'm just excited, for more games of that ilk from Board and Dice, because they have great productions, they do great designs and stuff like that, and I want a game that I can play in 2 hours and still, teach to newer players and stuff like that. So Reef Project, I think, was going to fit right into that sort of world, which I'm excited about. I'm also excited about the theme. Coral reefs are one of the places in the world with the greatest biodiversity, and we're losing a lot of our coral reefs right now. And so this is a game where you are working to save coral reefs, and I love that theme. There's also a couple of mechanism choices that are like simple but brilliant in the game. For instance, in a lot of games, you get your sort of end game scoring objective cards at the beginning of the game. And, a lot of times you're like, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm going for right now. I've never played this before. I guess I'll just keep this one and hope it works out. Well, in Reef Project, you get your end game scoring objective choices, your cards, halfway through the game. When one player hits 22 points, you get a couple of these and then you get to pick. And that's amazing. I already know what I'm doing now. I know what I might be able to achieve because I've already been doing stuff out there, and I'm like, oh, I'm already halfway to this one. I'm going to keep this card. That just makes so much sense to me, and it's simple, but I've never seen it in a game before, and it feels brilliant to me. Otherwise, you're going to be moving around the board. You're going to be dropping these sort of little buoys along the way, and when you drop a buoy along a route, you can now travel that route for free in the future instead of paying the energy that you would need to do it the first time and stuff like that. So, moving around the board and just trying to save coral reefs. So I'm excited about Reef Project. Number 4 is Rock Hard 1977. This is from DeVere Games, and it is sort of one of their medium weight games, and I love the medium weight games that come out from DeVere. They've had a lot of great ones. The Red Cathedral, the White Castle, Three Ring Circus. I've liked all of those games. And Rock Hard 1977, I'm hoping sort of fits into that medium weight game line that DeVere does. Thematically, it is a strategy game about trying to become a successful band. I love that theme. We don't have a ton of music-themed games in board games. There's a few, but there's not a lot, and that's one of those themes that I feel like can pull in new people to the hobby. That's one of those things where I'm like, yeah, you don't play that many board games, but you love 1970s rock and roll, boom, try this game right now. And so, it is, you're doing all of the things that you can to become a successful band in the game. You are, going on tour, you're hiring different people, you're, merchandise and marketing and all that sort of stuff. And so you're doing a lot of different things, but just trying to create a band. This game's also definitely getting attention because it was designed by one of the former members of the Runaways, one of the most successful all-female rock groups from the 1970s. So, I'm intrigued to see how they, did it designing a game. That is definitely intriguing because that's a band I know, and I hope this is good. I hope it's good. Number 3 on my list is The Gang from Cosmos. This is a cooperative poker game. And we've talked already a few times in this video about how I want to bring new people into the board game hobby, and poker is one of the main games that people know. Poker is like Monopoly, right? Where when you ask somebody if they've ever played a game before, odds on are poker is one of the games they've played. There's just a lot of people that have played poker out there. I played poker all the time when I was in college. We played all of the time, and there was a ton of friends I had that never played any games other than poker, right? And so but there's a lot of people also that are interested in poker, but they don't want to spend any money. They don't want the cutthroat nature. They don't want to have to wear sunglasses and try to read other people. And so The Gang takes poker and makes it cooperative. You are essentially playing Texas Hold'em, where you're getting, 2 cards, you're going to do a flop, you're going to do a river, you're going to do a turn, all of that sort of stuff. You're going to be putting cards out there, but you are trying to predict together who's going to have the best hand amongst the group. You're trying to rank how good your hands are. And you can't say anything specific, but when the flop comes out and you can go like, "Oh, I feel pretty good. Like I'm pretty happy right now with what I have." And someone else is like, "This is garbage. I hate this. I hate everything about this." And you're like, "Okay, well, let's give Grant the 4 because he feels pretty confident, and then let's give you the 1 because you are crying on the inside right now." And so you're just trying to sort of rank the hands, and you are changing your ranking as new cards come out. You're like, "Oh, I'm less excited about this now." And someone else is like, "This is the greatest day of my life." Give them the 4 sort of thing. And so I just, it's another game that I'm happy that it exists. I'm happy that it's going to pull new people into poker. It's going to pull new people into board games. It's a cooperative poker game here from Cosmos, The Gang. Number 2 is River of Gold from Office Dog Games. I actually had a chance to play this one at Dice Tower East, and I have fallen in love with this game. And, I don't want people to sleep on this because Office Dog is a new company, and I don't think a lot of people have heard of River of Gold yet. I hadn't really heard of it until a couple of months ago, and it's in my top 10 games of the year so far. For sure, already. I'm in love with River of Gold. We've talked a little bit about, my own personal proclivities when it comes to board games. I want a game that has good strategy, but still every turn is snappy, and River of Gold nails that balance. You can do a few things on your turn. You can do one of a few things. You can either build a building along the river, and when you build a building, you're going to gain influence in that region. You can sail a ship down the river, and when you stop at a spot, you're going to gain a bonus of any of the buildings that have been built, but the people that own the buildings, that built the buildings, are also going to gain a bonus. And then you can use resources that you've gotten to deliver to customers. Now you get a customer card that gets you a special ability and endgame points for the rest of the game. So each turn moves quickly, but there's some interesting sort of interplay between stuff. And maybe one of the most unique things about the game is your turn will always end with rolling a dice. And that dice can tell you where and what you can do on your next turn. It's going to have a region shown on it. So you can't build a building if it doesn't match the region that you have on your dice. You can't deliver to a customer unless the customer matches the region on your dice. The number on the dice is also going to tell you how many spots you can sail your ship on the river. However, you can spend divine favor to then change your dice roll. So there's ways to mitigate it to be able to do what you want, and you can earn divine favor throughout the game. And it looks really good on the table. It's like super shiny and pretty, and the board has all these, there's these shiny spots on it, and then the insert in the box is all gold. It just man, I'm really enjoying River of Gold a lot right now. I've been playing it a bunch in July, and I can't wait for more people to try the game. It's great. And the number one game I'm excited for at Gen Con is Arcs from Leader Games. So just so you know, they will have the base game and some of the expansions for Arcs selling at Gen Con. However, there's also a campaign way to play the game, a campaign box that comes separately. The campaign box won't be available at Gen Con. So if you want that, it will be available in October, so you can still get it. But right now, you can sort of get the base game and some of the expansions that go with the base game. So I just want you to know that. But, Arcs it combines trick-taking with a space exploration game. And those are two of my favorite things in games separate on their own. And now they're together for one of the first times here. I think there's a big board. It's not like a trick-taking card game. It's a big board, and you are doing stuff out on the board, but you are playing cards in a trick-taking manner to both get you actions and get you the strength of those actions. So certain cards are going to help you win tricks, and that's going to get you cool stuff, but they're going to have less in the way of actions. Or cards that are weak in the trick-taking are going to get you more possibilities for the actions on your turn. So just a really interesting interplay, and I can't wait to try how they combined, how they did this big strategy game driven by this trick-taking card engine. It just sounds super interesting and really fun, and I'm excited to check it out. It's one that, I'm also excited because the designer of the game is the same designer as games like Root and Oath, and those are probably too heavy of games for me personally. Well, it seems Arcs is maybe a little bit easier to jump into, a little bit easier to teach to people and stuff like that. So I'm excited for it for that reason as well. So, boom, we did it. Those are 10 games gonna be at Gen Con. Well, 14 really, because I cheated and I threw in some honorable mentions and stuff for my most anticipated list. So we got 14 games here that are gonna be at Gen Con. I think all of them are gonna be super worth checking out. I'm gonna be doing a bunch of events at Gen Con. So if you wanna come see me at stuff, there's a bunch of different ways to see me. On Thursday at 5 p.m., I'm gonna be playing Floodgate Games' new game, Landmarks. I'll be playing it live with a few friends and stuff like that, and you can come check that out Thursday at 5 p.m. Thursday at 7 p.m., I will be presenting and doing a little bit of comedy on the Dice Tower Awards show, so come to that. Friday at 11 a.m., from 11 a.m. to noon, I will be in the Gray Matters Games booth with my good friend Danny Standring. We will be signing copies of the game Slip It In, which is a fun party game, and we both wrote a bunch of the cards in that game, so if you want to come meet us or get a copy of the game signed, Friday at 11 a.m. Friday at 5 p.m., I will be doing a live storytelling show called It's Kind of a Fun Story. It's my favorite storytelling game that I've ever played. It's a great, great storytelling game. I did the game last year. I played it live, and I actually won the game, and I cried in front of a bunch of strangers. It was very memorable, and I'm coming back to host the show this year, and there's a bunch of great personalities that you know and love from the internet that are going to be taking part in it. So if you like storytelling, come to that Friday at 5 p.m. Saturday at 8 p.m., I will be doing a live gameplay of the Smurfs RPG. I'm playing Jokey Smurf. I know you didn't see that one coming. And so if you're a fan of Smurfs, come to check out the Smurfs RPG live on Saturday at 8 p.m. There's a couple of companies, too, that I just wanted to give a shout-out to because I know a lot of people this year are making their Gen Con debut, and that's very exciting. Gen Con is hard to get into as an exhibitor. I mentioned that I will be in the Gray Matters Games booth. This is Gray Matters Games' first time at Gen Con. So, I just think I'm happy to support like newer publishers that are getting in there. Moose Games is going to be at Gen Con for the very first time too. They've got a bunch of great sort of mass market party games. I just put out a video on Wildflowers from them, which has been one of my favorite recent sort of filler, like 15-minute games. It's been great. Crash the Party is another game from them that I've had fun playing at some different conventions. It's a good big group party game. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff to check out at Gen Con. I know you're going to have a great time. I hope I get to see you there at some point. I hope you leave with all of the games that your hearts desire. So thank you so much for being here. I'm Grant with Grant's Game Rex, and I hope to see you at Gen Con soon.